way one can find solitude is relaxing under every stressful environment and being aware that it is you that counts for everything. In the grand scheme of all things, of all logic, you make sense of the world that you see yourself in when you act according to your purpose. Everyone has a specific purpose, a specific way of handling truth that is in this world that can't be broken. So if you are knowing that your purpose is well kept, then you know that you are walking in truth, because your identity is not shaped on how the rest of the world finds different ways of having creation, having things that are already been subjected to the will that is of power, that people themselves cling for power. And we all have a way of trying to climb up the ladder of owning whatever it is that gives us the shape and the identity of ourselves. You know, I look at reading as a way of growing all of the different, I'm going to say, flow of the mind into adapting new ways to discover enriching that which is outer experiences, meaning that there is outer growth that is produced from inner growth, which is what you take inside of your mind, and then you're able to figure out ways to find techniques that work, that are suitable for your existence, and adapting and to becoming, and to then knowing circumstances when they arise and when they fall. The ultimate quest for survival is being able to know your value and your purpose in serving it. And you have to be able to see that there are ways that we are all governed, not just by laws and regulations that are made by people who establish laws and boundaries, but it's your own identity of where you're looking for that identity to fit in and to integrate at the level of all different influences and shapes that people make of reality, and trying to have your identity be spoken, and finding what is in your talent tied to your identity, and to make something that could be of originality to then be made manifest into leaving a landscape of a mark in the world that you live in, and that the people will see how your influence that you have created is able to affect them, and also vice versa. This is how you make yourself known. This is how you live and fulfill your purpose, is when you're able to find that what is within inside of you, and then transcend it into physical and practical wisdom of yourself acting daily for a purpose. You're living for a purpose that you're trying to find, that is going to keep the flow of social interactions going around, because it's a matter of adapting to what is of the social apparatus of life. Everything moves, everything changes, and we are a part of that constant flow of what changes ends up becoming something that will lead to what is ultimately permanent, which is the lasting of what we leave behind. It's not ourselves that last permanently, physically, but it's what we leave behind that speaks of a legacy, that speaks of profound ancient practice, even of wisdom, coming from different manuscripts of spirituality, of art, of physicality, we could say, that is tied to art in a physical presence. You think about landscapes, you think about those that have created with their own hands the beauty of sculptures. They create in the image of something to leave a permanent mark on the landscape of the earth, of society. And that's their purpose that they have fulfilled, was creating structures that represent human engineering, that represented culture from a human perspective of genealogies. That's the way I see just myself, how I want to influence with all types of gatherings that have to do with wisdom and how I speak and how I operate. And it's not a way of trying to find a centric way to fulfill what is of the ego of self, with trying to find an importance to become better, to become greater. No, it's a way that I'm speaking from the soul, of connecting on levels of higher understanding in the purpose of life. The scheme of life is to grow outside of your suffering, but to accept that suffering is the will for us to gain peace at the end of it all. The way to find perfect balance and the way to find perfect growth is to accept that your suffering is part of the process of growing into that balance that is of peace, that is of mindful tranquility. And how do we find things to make us feel more tranquil, to feel more spiritual? It's trusting that God has the way to give us what is offerings of spiritual rest, spiritual hope. And everything that we feel as far as victories, as far as shattering defeats, what we feel as trying to find nobility in the things that we love to do, that is serving others, and while others may give back to us in the process, while we are trying to find strategies on building better revenues to serve from our own hearts, from our own giving, on charities that can go towards building even that which is earthly infrastructures for people's survival, ultimately. We do it from a place of richness, not from a place of technological advancement. Richness is what is inside of your own core being that gives as a way that looks like in the form of technology or productivity, but it's not based on the very ideal that I'm trying to do this because of the advancement of technology that gives me the ability to do so, to build organizations, to do research on a level that is vast in quantities, we could say superficially. You use that which is technological for the purpose of your spiritual richness that's inside of you, that is giving, that is offering all forms of solutions against all problems that so many on different levels, existentially, spiritually, go through. And I'm speaking about the human condition, that we have a purpose. We have to try to fulfill it. We have to try to seek that which is revenue for our own, the life that we want as far as success. It's not just on the outside, but it's on the inside. And we have to meet individuals where they're at. We have to know what it's like to feel somebody else's struggle, somebody else that is suffering with whatever, misfortunes, whatever tragic type of trauma in any different, let's say, society. That we shouldn't be only looking, let's say, our own individual self with our own struggle, with our own pain, our own adaptability. And then if somebody has a different viewpoint, if someone disagrees with a certain, it could be a religious structure, political structure, it could be a social type of conversation, it could be about inequality, it could be about injustice that is happening. We have to look at from the levels of where those people are at and what it is that they've experienced as far as what is making them feel the way that they feel towards certain beliefs or certain viewpoints that they may want to dismantle, that somebody else may hold. We have to be able to have compassion on those that are against us, and we have to see things from the view of those who are against us, just as much as those who may agree and see our overall worldview structure that we believe. You see, people that are from all different walks of life, they need healing. They need sustainability. They need love, and they need not what is censorship that has to do with expressing what is love, even if it's in a powerful way of confronting something that is alien to the very core of love. That is hate. The opposite of love is hate. And we have to put to silence what is hate in the form of discrimination, in the form of, someone trying to specify, someone based upon if it's their gender, if it's, speaking against somebody's view that may be the opposite view of even what some people think should be the conservative mentality view that sets up the logical frame that is of order. Somebody that has a secular way of thinking doesn't mean that they're not thinking biblically, even in a sense. According to, let's say, if you're following God, somebody may have a different view in seeing how they're getting themselves closer to finding God because of their experiences that has to do with discrimination, and that has to do with being labeled somebody who is of a secular projection mindset versus someone that has the spiritual, analytical to what is biblical mindset. You have to love all people, even that have different views on how they see the world, even if their views tend to be a form of liberal thinking views. And this is not about any ideology that is tied to what is politically or socially. I'm talking about human beings should not be looked at different because of different expressions. And just because someone looks different, they are made in the image of God. God made every single person in his image. So how can one person say that one differs from the other just because someone may be living a different way? It doesn't mean that they don't have the image that is of God in them. And the purpose, I'm going to say, in being who you are meant to be is to accept the purpose that God has for every single human being that was meant to be. Yes, we can change imperfections. We could work out what is flaws in our character. We could learn to love at greater levels of just awareness of what it means to be connected at the core base of true understanding of each person, and even having an acceptance of seeing that person as valuable even when they disregard our own value. Because remember, if certain groups don't accept you, God accepts you the way that you are as he made you. Yes, we have imperfections. Yes, we need to constantly work on changing for the better every day. Yes, it's a matter of seeking God with wisdom every single day. It's a matter of letting go of what you can't hold on to every single day. And I'm saying this because the purpose that you were created for was to be all that you were meant to be, to see all that you were capable of seeing, and then becoming one with the world. Naturally, the world I'm talking about as far as the blend of all nature, all of the skies, all of the minerals, all the things of the natural beauty of the earth. You become one in terms of what God has created, so therefore you have what is then seeking for what is even greater than the earth, which is eternity. And to simply be in the world but not of it is to then be able to save the world, is to help bring the world from all of what God has given you as far as your purpose, which is you serving Him, to get others to see the purpose that God has given you and everything that He has shown you, all of the world that He has put inside of you to break down and to categorize and to spiritualize. You know, everything that we even see on the outward surface that is materialized is broken into different patterns of what is connected to the human heart. We are all connected to every sort of moving object. We are connected to every gap, every bridge that we are trying to cross, that we can't cross when we just see it from the distance, from a particular view. And we know that a bridge that is crossing takes us somewhere from one remote location to another. We are connected to where we are trying to head. We are connected to how we are trying to mobilize even all of our great wealth that some of us have, and then distributing it in ways to serve the community, to break down things that are crises that form within us because of a lot of existential demands that we go through, us as people, all of us on an everyday level. We find the purpose of trying to find peace in our deepest despairs, our deepest adversities. But I'm here to let you know that it is how you find common ground with others to find peace. It is about showing the love of God that you have, if you have God inside of you, to go deeper beyond just wanting the outward acceptance. The purpose is inward of acceptance that you have of yourself, that God has given you, of the knowledge that it lives inside of you, that you know that you are worth something, that you're more valuable than precious gold and ornaments of diamonds. And I just want to say this is life, I know, can be hard. I know that relationships don't always seem stable. Betrayal is something that easily happens to so many of us. And we feel like we are taken by every single wind that comes at us. We could feel hopeless, we could feel sharpless, we could feel inadequate, we could feel doubtful about our own identities because other people have told us who we were since that we were born. Other people throughout our lives have placed burdens on us, burdens on our shoulders, to where we felt like we were living our own path and purpose for others that have told us who we were and what we were meant to be, but not seeing who it was that we were in the first place, that we were individuals, all of us, that had a purpose by God, and let no one take that purpose that God has given you away from you. You know what I mean? You have to constantly show up for the things that you believe in. Even if the things that you are trying to seek out after, even if they don't show themselves up for you, show up for them, because that shows that you want it more than the actual thing itself that is being wanted, that you want it more than it just being there for you to get by itself. It's you personally that goes and making it to where you want it. And I'm going to go ahead and sign out.